These days, a single phrase is making the rounds in the Catholic world, and at first glance, it even seems reassuring. This is being said by a man who, on this matter, has more power than anyone else after the Pope. And he says it with the calm of someone who fears no contradiction. The problem is that a journalist with documents in hand claims that that sentence doesn't hold up, and the word she uses to describe it is very harsh. By the end of this video, you'll understand why this controversy isn't just a squabble between insiders, and you'll be left with one detail that, if read carefully, turns everything on its head. The man we're talking about is Cardinal Arthur Roche, prefect of the Dicastery for Divine Worship. This is the body that decides how the Eucharist is celebrated throughout the Church. On July 29th, he gave an interview to the British weekly The Tablet, and it was there that he said the phrase that sparked controversy. Roche argued that the traditional liturgy is, in essence, readily available to Catholics who wish to participate. And he added the part that struck him most: if anyone thinks otherwise, the problem isn't normal. The problem, he implies, lies with those who complain. In the same interview, he reiterated that Leo XIV will not change Traditionis Custodes and will not return to Summorum Pontificum, the document of Benedict XVI. Put that way, the matter would seem closed. The rules remain, but, says the prefect, whoever wants that mass will find it. No drama. This is where the second voice comes in. And to understand why it weighs, you need to know who it is. Her name is Diane Montagna. She's an American journalist, a Vatican correspondent, and she's not just any commentator. In 2021, and again in 2025, he did something that very few people managed to do. He obtained and published parts of a confidential document from the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. That document was the report delivered to Pope Francis. It contained the summary of the worldwide consultation of bishops held in 2020 on the application of the Old Mass. This is the foundation on which the crackdown was later built. The question everyone was asking at the time was, what had the world's bishops really said? And here lies the reason Montagna's name carries weight. Because according to the texts he published, most bishops weren't calling for a change in the rules at all. Many described peaceful situations in their dioceses. Some reported problems, of course, but the overall picture wasn't one of an emergency requiring a decree. Since then, his thesis has remained the same. The results of that consultation were presented differently than they were. A thesis the Vatican has never refuted with evidence. That's why, when this woman responds to the prefect of divine worship, the Catholic world stops to listen. She doesn't bring impressions, she brings papers. And his response to the tablet interview, published on July 31st, came with a title that leaves no room for interpretation. He calls it yet another extraordinary case of gaslighting. It's a term borrowed from psychology, and it's worth explaining because it's at the heart of the whole thing. Gaslighting is a technique used to convince a person that what they see with their own eyes isn't happening, that the problem isn't with the facts, but with their perception. And this, according to Montagna, is exactly the operation underway, telling the faithful that the ancient Mass is available, while they experience the opposite every day. His most quoted quote these days is as sharp as a blade. Repeating a lie, he writes, may convince a man of what he wants to believe, but it doesn't make it any more true. Those who defend Roche, for example, point out that in many dioceses around the world, the ancient Mass is still celebrated, that permits exist, and that the prefect applies a rule that he did not write. This is a topic that needs to be reported for the sake of fairness. The question, however, remains: available to whom and where? because the faithful who follow this story have in mind very concrete facts, which have occurred in recent months and are also reported on this channel. There are dioceses where the celebration has been concentrated in a single location with limited attendance, others where the permit has not been renewed and the Mass has simply disappeared. There are communities who have ended up praying in gyms or makeshift structures, and priests available to celebrate who have not received authorization. And then there are the 4 German cases of recent days, dioceses that have responded publicly that they do not intend to expand the offering, despite requests from the faithful. When put together, these facts explain why that phrase was so irritating. Anyone who hears it compares it to their own Sunday morning experience. And it is precisely here that the distance between the palace and the parish is consumed. From a Roman desk, a law may appear to be applied with balance. From a provincial desk, however, one sees only its effects. Then there's a second piece of information, which arrived almost simultaneously, that broadens the picture. An independent Catholic magazine wrote about it on July 30th. The thesis is that the strategy of silence, that is, avoiding talking about the issue in the hope that it would calm down on its own, simply failed. Because the issue hasn't died down at all. Indeed, every interview, every statement, every denial reignites it, and now it involves cardinals and archbishops who are publicly responding. Even Roche's own return to the subject ultimately proves this. This isn't a closed case. It's a wound that continues to bleed. And so we come to the most surprising part of the whole story. It's hidden within the same interview that sparked the controversy, and few people noticed it. Because in one passage, Cardinal Roche doesn't talk about permits or regulations. He talks about young people, and he says something that, if read carefully, goes against his own stance. He admits that Traditionis Custodes has made younger Catholics even more aware of the existence of the ancient rite, and it has encouraged them to see it as a treasure to be sought and treasured. Pause for a moment. It's the man who applied the grip who admits that the grip had the opposite effect than claimed. The document was created to bring everyone back to a single common form. And the result, by its own admission, is that a generation discovered that liturgy precisely because it was made difficult for them. It's a dynamic as old as humanity itself. What's left behind a closed door doesn't become invisible, it becomes interesting, and those in their 20s feel it even more. Those who defend the Vatican's position will argue that this doesn't change the substance of the rules, and they'll have their reasons for saying so. But that passage, written in black and white, remains. And that's perhaps the most useful takeaway from this controversy. Not the harsh words of a journalist, however well-informed, but a phrase said by someone you'd least expect, which describes exactly what's happening in the classroom. The more crowded it gets, the more young people search. What do you think? If you liked the video, comment Amen. God bless you.